Hello, hello, hello. This is Tom from Tom and Ruth Philippine Adventures. I'm at the local mall here, just sitting, and I thought I'd do a video. I had a few people ask me this last couple of days. Living in the Philippines, is it safe? In fact, I'm gonna bring up a couple topics. Is it safe in the city? Is it safe in the province? What is your aspect on it? And what happened to you from the time you lived there? I lived in the Philippines from 2015 and change, 14, 15, actually 14 to 2024. There were times where it wasn't safe. There were times where it's safe. Did I have problems? Yes. Everybody, if you live there a period of time, whether you're in a province, whether you're in the city, you're going to have somebody that might try to take money from you, rob you. The girls probably had a couple of attempted taking phones and things like that, petty theft. And there are times where you got to really watch what you're doing and yanking money out of your pocket. You know, you don't yank out a wad of money. It's common sense, like it is here in the States. You don't yank out money and then expect everything to be okay. But you have to really look at things in general. Is there situations that you run into where you can get robbed? Yes, you can even get robbed at the mall. Some guy tried to take my phone just before I left at the mall, and I was just lucky enough that I tripped him up where he couldn't take my phone. But I think honestly, if you look at all the vloggers that's been there, I don't know about the new ones. I'm talking about the vloggers like some of the older vloggers that's been there for a period of time. You remember Mike, My Philippine Journey, Enrique, there's a few others, I won't mention their names, that actually get robbed. They were robbed. And I think what you have to do is you have to look at the environment you're in, pay attention to what's going on, always have eyes in the back of your head. Never sit in a restaurant back to the door. You have to just kind of be prepared. Here in U.S., yeah, you can just do just about anything. You're pretty well safe. But you remember, you're in a country that you're a target. If you're white skinned or black skinned or whatever color you are, you're a target because they see money. They think all Americans are rich. They think all people that come to their country are rich and they have cash and things like that. So you really have to look at the environment you're in. Even, you know what? I've even had some threats take my life. So you have to really, you gotta kind of really be prepared. I mean, it's a different world there. Now you go through people who tell you, "Oh, I never had a problem. Been there for 10 years," and then next thing you know, I hear they're back in the States. Why'd you come back to the States? Well, I got robbed and I got this and that, and ran out of Bohol or ran out of somewhere. A friend of mine got ran out of Bohol in the month of December last year. Had house, land, everything paid for, cash, all done, all on solar, and got ran out of the island. Got ran out because in the mountains, as you know, there's people there that want his land, want what he has, and they basically took his house. So, is there ways to save it? Sure, but it's like me in my instance when I was there. Well, we ran around quite a bit because we had an instance where somebody was after us. So you have to really think about what you're doing and where you're going to live and what you're going to do. That's one of the reasons why I want the girls. We're going to have our place there always. We're snowbirds. We're going to go back and forth. I want the girls here in the States to actually get more familiar with what's going on in the States. Not saying it's safe or anything about it, but at least you know that when you can go to the mall and walk around, you don't have to worry about somebody stealing your phone. When you're driving a car, you don't have to worry about paying a snack tax fee for getting pulled over for doing nothing. And that's happened to Ruth and I a couple of times. And they want snacks. They want a little money, $10, $15. They get past certain intersections, things like that, CDO and Davao. But when I first arrived there in 2015, I was told in CDO to get off the street because they were having problems there, tanks and things like that. So they just basically said for us to leave, and we did. Now, all that's been cleaned up. All that's all done. If you guys remember Marawi thing and all that. But another thing I want to talk about real quick is, and somebody asked me this morning, If I'm living in the Philippines, where is the best place to stay? Where is the best environment to be for your safety? That's a good question. People say the city is safe. Really, the safest city that I have found our travels and all the things that we did is Davao. You could be out at midnight walking down the street, you're not going to get bothered. Uh, Davao was known, and still is to this day, one of the safest cities. You can pretty well do anything there. Not saying you can't be a target, you can be a target anywhere. But it was the safest for me. I know that every time that I was there, I felt safe. Anytime I went anywhere, I felt safe. There's guards on the street. They have security on the street there, where a lot of places don't have it. CDO doesn't have security on the street. They don't have people at every crosswalk. They don't have. You do a crosswalk in Davao and don't walk on a crosswalk and just jaywalk across the street. See what happens. Guarantee there's an officer somewhere along the lines there close. And if it's not one, there's three. So Davo's probably the safest city. If you're planning on moving somewhere and want to be safe, Davao. One of the things too that I want to say about that is, even out in the provinces, there's some really great safe cities. But then sometimes you got people that really just don't like you. You got people just going to tell you straight up, I don't like you. I don't like the way you look. I don't like you. I don't want foreigners here. They're taking away our Filipinas, and they're taking away who we are. Well, that's happened to me. And sure, when I first got there in 14, Ruth and I were walking down the street, and a guy walked up and says, I'm going to you. And she said, what? In Visaya. And later on, I didn't know what he said. And I asked her, what did he say? What did he say? What did he say? Don't worry about it. Or told me later what he said, and then I confronted Ruth. And I says, why in the world did he hate me? He goes, no, it's just for $20 or $40, that's the cost. That's the going rate to do that. And this is the way it is. It's sad. I don't mean to bring up negative stuff, but this is the way it is. This is the way it is. When you're going to a country, you need to be aware of these situations you may have encountered. You may be in a situation you've been there for 20 years, never encountered anything. My buddy Alton encountered it quite a few times. But he was military, and he was in his 80s, and he always had somebody around him, family, things like that. But there are times you're not going to have someone around. There are times where you're going to be walking around with a cup of coffee in your hand, sitting at a restaurant by yourself, and just that way things can happen. So I'm just telling the guys that are thinking about going there, just make sure you figure out where you're going to live first. Make sure you have income, number one, and make sure you have a preparation for escape plan in case something goes sour. You got to have an escape plan. Even the guys with the big channels got an escape plan. Everybody that I know that has been there in the last 15 years has an escape plan. And something that if something did happen there, you got to know how to get out and get out fast. Recently, a friend of mine just arrived here in Jacksonville. He's been there for 11 years. He arrived about the same time I did, and he's back in Jacksonville now. And he was telling me that he's just not going back. You couldn't pay him to go back. And once he got out of there, he said, I'm not going back. Because he said things changed. And it did after COVID, it did change. And I said I was so happy that we filed the paperwork for us, and glad that we did for that time. But I think what you have to do, you have to look at your situation, where you're going to live, where your Filipina is, or if you're looking or if you're not looking for a girl, and make the right choice that way. Some of the other vloggers paint it as pie in the sky, perfect world, everything's perfect there. It's not. Nowhere's perfect. Here in the States, it's not perfect. And it's surely not going to be perfect in a country that makes $3 to $5, $10 a day tops average salary. And they see someone walking around with a gold watch on, or see somebody with a gold ring on, because most Filipino and most Filipina, depending, they don't have rings. They don't wear rings. So jewelry is something they look for. and look for watches. They look for wallets. They look for glasses. They see what kind of clothes you have and things like that. If you have a car, you're a target. So don't hang your arm out the door. Don't have a watch on and things like that, because they'll sometimes will look at that. So don't mean to be a little bit on the negative Debbie Downer type video, but I wanted to explain in detail because I have a few guys just asked me about it recently because they're thinking about moving over there because of the upcoming elections here in the States, and they don't think it's going to go the way they want it to go, and so they're preparing their way and heading to Philippines or Thailand or Bali or Vietnam. All those places are great places to live. A couple of guys that I know, new vloggers that moved there, are heading to Thailand or moving to Thailand because it's cheaper and their environment's better, and the cost of food, things like that, are a lot cheaper. And they can get a variety of type foods that you can't get in the Philippines. Beef, things like that, So, and beef is a commodity there. It's kind of short supply. You can get it, but it's the quality's not there, and you got to watch where you buy it at the market because they use the same knife for pork, chicken, beef, all of that. So you have to really make your own decision what you want to do. But I want to do this video real quick. People ask me about it, some emails. I got quite a few. Mailbag's coming up. Video number 2 is coming up. People ask me questions. This one here is kind of a doozy. A Filipina is married to an American, and things are not going as well as expected. And so there's a twist in this story coming up, and I'll have one this week. God bless everybody, and I'll see you next time on Tom and Ruth Filipino Adventures.